Welcome to Typically Unique Real Talk with your hosts, Kim and Carlos. Get ready to dive into the unexpected with us each week as we bring you fresh perspectives on a wide range of topics. From the typical to the very unique, we promise to surprise you every time. Join us for thought-provoking discussions, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of entertainment. If you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Typically Unique. I'm Kim Aponte, and I'm here with my husband, Carlos.
Hello.
So we're doing our question of the week. And I'm going to pick a card. We already cut them.
Yeah, so. I shuffled them up real good.
If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Well, something came to mind immediately, but I don't know. I'll stick with that. I want to be a better husband, spouse, and all things that, and I think all things that go along with that. We've been at this for a long time, you and I,
Going on 27 years.
And, we've had ups and downs. We've had a lot of issues, family problems. We've dealt with a lot of things that have taken us off the path of being a good husband and a good wife.
Yeah.
Because we've dealt with so many things, and I think we lost some focus. And I think when I finally got jarred back into reality of what I want and who I love and what I cherish, I was like, what's going on? What am I doing? What are we doing? What is, what's going on? And I think when that moment hit, it hit hard.
Yeah, for both of us.
And, we went and sought help. We didn't try to do it on our own anymore, which I think was another problem that we added to our marriage. And I think once we sought help, I started learning some things. And 10 years later, we had a session 2 days ago?
A couple days ago.
And I'm still learning
things. We both are.
I even, while you and our counselor was talking, I had wrote down a question. I was like, wait a minute, I've never heard that terminology before. What does this mean, right? Because I want to continue to learn. So, I think that's mine. What about you?
I agree with that. And when you look back at our life together now, do you think, oh my God, like things have happened and I know every marriage and relationship can look back and think, wow, never saw that coming. Never thought that would be in our life, but we have definitely trudged through some very challenging times. And, our first series that we did on our podcast was our journal, our memoir on the medical issue that we had to deal with one of our children. So we did many, many episodes on that. So if you haven't watched that, you can understand the background that we're talking about and what happened to us with that. Because that was a big one, especially for me, because just the fear of going through a life and death situation for a child changes you, brings out things in you that you're not proud of because, man, I went to bat for that kid and, wasn't always proud of everything that I did, but that also took a toll on our relationship because.
Well, how couldn't it have? I mean, you think about everything that you're explaining, and if you do go back and listen to that, or you have that context, we, instead of realizing during that time, 14, 15, 16 years ago, during that time in our life that we needed to be, you and I needed to be more connected.
Yep.
Communicate better like we do today. We didn't have those skills back then.
No.
And so living through not a trauma in a moment, but a very long sustained trauma over years with this.
Yep.
And us just, it
was
battling
like survival
and surviving and our relationship taking not a backseat, but we were hooked up to a trailer, way in the back. Like it was non-existent, to the point that we didn't check in with each other on how are we feeling about each other. We were checking in with, all right, what do we have to do in this situation to get through this trauma?
Crisis of the moment. Yeah.
And for me, I guess we're kind of answering this the same way.
Right.
For me, if I go back to the very beginning, when it was innocent.
Just
us, right? And innocent. Even I know we've talked a few times, but if this is your first time ever watching us, I'll give you a little update. Kim and I met when we were in high school. I was a senior. She was a freshman. So I was we met the second half of the school year, kind of when basketball had started. So I was on my last half of high school before I was going to go to college.
And not showing up to school very much after the basketball season.
So we had met, we became really close friends. I had an infatuation with her, but I always knew that, I'm going away to school. She's got 3 more years of high school. Could this work? Probably not. But, I really enjoyed her company, wanted to be with her. And that's how I saw us at the beginning was, wow, this girl, this freshman, really checks a lot of the boxes that I find attractive. And it was crazy that I had known that a lot of these boxes, on physical appearance and, the way she carried herself and, the way that she gave effort into, because I saw her, she also played basketball. And I was like, wow, look at the effort. And I was like, that's attractive to me. And so I reached out, and it was that was that immediate connection for me.
Well, you and I, and the same for me, because we spent a lot of time together being able to talk during school, because we both ended up with like a free period at the end of the day, and we're able to hang out on a lot of days. So even though it was a short period of time, we had discussions and really got to know each other. And because you were a little bit intimidating to me at first, you were, in my eyes, super popular, star basketball player. And when you reached out, I was like, what does he want to talk to me about? But getting to know you, you had a very calming and, just our discussions were just nice conversations. And, we would talk on the phone, but even then, like you say, you were going off to college and there were 3 years, like there were also issues like because of the age. So even like back then we had to keep it kind of secret because, you know, I was worried about what my parents would think about the age difference and different, you know, nationality and races, you know, that kind of stuff. So,
which, just to interject on the nationality, wasn't anything new for me, right? I mean, this was, you know,
I hate talking about this,
but this is a reoccurring theme, and you know, in my life. But I never felt any of that with Kim, right? You know, I know she had worries about her family and things like that, which wasn't a big worry, you know, or anything, but it was just, you know, hey, you know, I'm a freshman, I'm young, you're old and Hispanic, you know, so it wasn't, you know, two good things that could mix in, you know, it was probably two of the worst things to mix in. So yeah, we didn't make it overly public and stuff or anything like that, but we just really enjoyed each other's company. And
but I guess my point was, you know, you have a connection with somebody when you're just drawn to them, because even though you went away from school, you sent me letters in the mail. Like, who does that anymore, you know? And we wrote to each other and called each other. And once I did go to college, then I had a little bit more freedom, and then you reached out then, and then we got to see each other and connect. So even though it took us, 10 more years later to get back together, like, and I guess we're establishing the foundation of our relationship. There was just a connection there between the two of us that we were always drawn to each other.
And it's what's familiar, right? In a way, I thought Kim understood me. 10 years later, I had dated, you know, and everything. And, you know, I was with somebody from a different town. And it was just, you know, there was no connection, or we knew each other's families, you know. Her father, you know, prior to him finding out kind of near the end that we were maybe kind of seeing each other, he wasn't quite sure. But after every basketball game, he would like stick around and would be like, well, Carlos, you know, you did this really well, and, you know, you're a good player, and, you know, and he would be very encouraging. And I didn't really know him that well, but he was just one of those parents, you know, that would enjoy high school sports, and not only his daughter playing girls basketball, but he stuck around and watched the boys' games and things like that. And he would communicate with me a lot. Now that, you know, I think when he found out that, you know, maybe I was, you know, sniffing around a little bit, I think, but
well, one of our funny stories is that, you know, I would call him if I was babysitting, right? So I was home alone one night, and I'm like, you know, we're talking. I'm like, yeah, you know, watching my sister or hanging out with my sister or whatever. And like, this was early in the night, okay? Yeah. Late in the night when my parents are back home. You know, I didn't even know any of this till like the next day or something. But apparently there was commotion in the neighborhood or snooping around our house or a knock at the door. I don't know what happened. You were there. I wasn't. Yeah. I was sleeping. I'm upstairs in my bedroom sleeping. And apparently my dad had to go outside because something was going on.
So I was with a few friends. I didn't actually get my driver's license till I was like 18 years old. So, you know, at any point, like I wanted my few friends that I had to just kind of drive me around. You know, I really didn't want to drive. I didn't want to, I don't know. I don't know why I did that, but I just did.
It's not odd because I was the driver for all my friends.
Was it? Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know why that happens that way.
But so I told one of my friends, we were at this party, and I just not a party guy, you know, and I was like, look, I really don't want to be here. I said, but why don't you guys drop me off a few blocks away from my house, and I'm going to go see Kim because she's babysitting, and, you know, and then when it's time for me to leave
4 hours earlier.
Yeah, when it's time for me to leave, I'll just step out, and I could walk home because it was only, you know, 10, 20 blocks away. It wasn't that far.
Yeah.
But so they come to drop me off, and I was like, I don't know. There's a car in the driveway, and something doesn't look right. I'm like, they're like, oh, come on, go see your Kim or whatever. They didn't even know who she was. And so one of the guys says, well, I'll go knock on the door and see
my
if she
God.
comes. And I said, all right. So I'm sitting in the back seat. The passenger gets out, knocks on the door. The driver sees the passenger running, right? And he got freaked out. And instead of like putting the car in drive and going down the street, he got out of the car and he started running, and they hid behind a bunch of trees. I'm stuck in the back seat.
I love this story.
And I'm like, oh my God. And all of a sudden her dad comes out the house and I see him, and I duck in the back seat, like on the floorboard, and it's dark out. So, he's looking in the front seat of the car. He comes out to the car.
My dad told me later he was going to take the keys.
Yeah. The car was running.
Oh, it was running?
The car was running.
Oh, maybe he said he should have taken the keys.
Yeah. The car was running. And so I'm on the floorboard and I'm looking away from their house at a different house. And he comes to the driver's side and he's like looking right in at me. And I'm like, just don't move. I could feel my heart just beating out of my chest, right? And I'm like, oh my God, don't move. Hopefully he won't see me under here. And a neighbor lady comes out of her house and she's like, I saw two boys running that way. And she points, away before he could see me in the back seat. So he kind of...
Good old nosy neighbors.
Oh, yeah, thank goodness. He turns around, he kind of starts walking that way toward the trees. And then he beelines back to the house. I lean over the car, over the back seat of the car, put it in drive because you didn't have to push the brake back then. You could just throw it into drive. So I'm leaning over the back seat, put it into drive, and just start coasting the car. I couldn't even hit the gas. The car's just coasting down the street. And here comes my two friends out of the trees. They jump in the car, and we book it out of there, right? Well, he had grabbed the license plate.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me.
He did find out who the car belonged to. Yeah.
And the next morning.
Yeah, he's like, who's this person? I'm like, and I honestly, honest to God, did not know the name. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was my friend's car. So thank goodness it wasn't my car.
Yeah.
But it was a friend's car. She had no idea. She asked me a day or two later, right in school, because it was probably a Saturday night or something. So it was probably the next Monday. Hey, do you know so-and-so? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, well, they came over the house. And I was like, I was in the car. And I told her the whole story. She's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
But I guess the point I make, which is that was a funny story. I can't believe
just our history.
Yeah.
Great stories.
But I think the point is that we've had a foundation of we're from the same hometown, right? We're familiar.
And know each other.
Yeah, we know each other.
And where we come from. Each other.
So 10 years later, when, because we both went off to college, we both kind of did our thing for a little bit. 10 years later, when I come back in town, Kim had made it back in town. She's working at a school in town. And I reach out and... that night or the next night or something, we go out, we have dinner, and
been together ever since.
The rest is history, right?
Yep.
But it was always about, I think, that foundation. And as we got into our jobs and kids and life and responsibility and a mortgage and, how much am I allowed to spend at the grocery store and, all those things came into play, and everything about us just moved down the priority list in my eyes, and, I think there were some big moments that maybe we could talk about in the future. I don't know, but, I think I wanted this feeling from Kim that I am like the love of her life, that we are meant to be, and I'm going to share myself holistically to you, and we're going to be, kumbaya and all this. And I just wanted to feel she loved me more than life itself. That's all I wanted. I didn't want, a lot in our relationship, but I wanted her to show me that, and I wanted to feel that from her. And I think as I felt like, because I would say stupid stuff like, hey, I love you way more than you love me. That used to be my tagline. I'm like, it's kind of a bummer that I love you way more than you love me, and I would throw those things out there. And I didn't understand the impact of that stuff, and I would be like, I want you to show me how much you love me. I need you to show me this, and we could never connect on that, right?
So what did we learn that helped us realize that was an issue and how to better do that for each other? Do you remember? Because as we learned in counseling.
I'd rather you say it, but from my perspective, I think it was we needed to understand each other's love buckets.
Yes.
And start filling those buckets with those things. And we never communicated that to each other.
Oh, no. I didn't even when we learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is a thing? Like, what?
For real.
What? So, and I just looked this up the other day. I don't know. I was curious. We'd been talking about, different topics for our podcast and stuff. But so when you take this survey to find out what your love language is, it'll give you there's different versions of the survey, but you can find them for free online. It'll give you 2 statements and you pick one, but they're coded. Like choice A, choice E, choice A, whatever. And as you go through, so there's always 2 statements, pick one that resonates with you more. And then when you get done, you look at your answer selections and you look at the letter that correlates to the choices you picked the most. And then that would be your love language.
Oh, okay.
So once we found that out, and that, because I was running around, and you said you wanted to feel like, the outpouring of love that I feel for you, that I do and always have felt for you. But I was running around showing it in ways of like doing chores and, doing responsibilities and things like that. Right. And my heart was filled with love doing those things, but you could have cared less about that because his love language is affection and affirmation and things like that. And when you're not doing that for your partner, their bucket gets empty.
Yeah.
And once we found out how to love our partner in the way that they feel love, then we were able to fill our buckets. But we ran into some dark times when our buckets were empty.
Yeah, and not only did we run into some dark times when our buckets were empty, but even as we realized what the buckets were, and we first started on this journey, because one of your love languages is, gifts, right?
I do like getting gifts.
And not just, like, hey, it's Mother's Day, let's have a big thing, just because, let's do, hey, I'm thinking of you. I saw this. I think you would like it. I want to get this for you, right? And I would feel, well, have you buying her a gift? So I was, again, it's a journey point, right?
Because my other one is time, spending time together.
Spend time together. But the opposite is, let's give him affirmation or something like that. And I'm laying on the couch all day. She's going to be like, honey, I have to tell you, That couch laying you're doing today is incredible. I have never seen.
I should have tried that.
I've never seen anybody lay on the couch as well as you've laid on this couch today. You know?
Oh my goodness, so funny.
I think there were things that we weren't doing to help either receive the love language or to give the love language.
Right.
So, you know, it's easy to identify.
Right.
But it's very hard to, and I'm going to struggle with the wording, but it's very hard to deserve. I don't know if deserve's the right word.
Right, but maybe that's a part of it to take into account.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to run around being a brat all day and then expect, he's going to buy me a gift, right?
Right.
You know, or being cranky all the time and mean to you. And then, I get what you're saying.
And vice versa. You know, I'm not going to lay around on the couch all day and be like, hey, honey, thanks for doing the dishes. You know, or so, you know, I did nothing. Right. You know, and I think that was another big moment. I think identifying the problem, right? I mean, there's a bunch of sayings that we always do. You can't control what you don't measure. And if you don't identify a problem, you can't solve it, you know? And so we identified the problem.
But didn't know what to do about it.
But we didn't know what to do about it and how to solve it, you know? And I think that was a pretty big issue. And for me on this, kind of going back to the question, maybe to wrap this up, and I think I'd like to talk about this more, you know, but
we have a lot to say about relationships.
I think so.
I think we could,
because we learned a lot.
We've been through a lot. We've learned a lot. We've changed a lot. I think we have a lot that we could share.
You know, and I think, you know, for me, when it goes back to the question, right? You know, when we go back to, okay, you know, what did I really want to be better at or, you know, improve upon?
A skill you want to master.
Yeah, what do I want to master? And I think very early on in our relationship, and maybe we can come back and talk about all this stuff, but I always felt like counseling could be the answer, right? You know, I've heard it in movies and things like that, you know, but I never experienced it. And I would always come to Kim and be like, you know, you're driving me crazy, you know, and this is I'm getting fed up with, you know, a lot going on in our relationship. We should go to counseling. And I even got this pamphlet one time, you know, and I said, you know, we can even have free counseling, you know, because I got it from work. And she was so resistant to it, you know, so resistant early. Not that she was resistant to me in our relationship. It was maybe an unknown. I don't want to speak for you, but maybe it was an unknown, or we don't do that on my side of the family, you know.
So one partner can be feeling a different way than the other partner. So I was just trudging along through our marriage. I wasn't feeling certain ways, you know. Did I have maybe wishes and wants and things like that? Yes. You were in more dire straits with your thoughts and bringing that to me. And so I think for me, it was more of a, what do we need counseling for? Like, I think everything's fine. And that's where that came from.
Yeah. And so I think me waving that flag and then us finally getting there because, you know, tragic event on top of tragic event on top of tragic event finally led to a split, right?
A fork in the road.
Yeah, a big fork in the road. And if there was going to be reconciliation, I think we needed outside help. And Kim had gone there previous to us reconciling, you know. She's like, maybe I do need some type of counseling, you know. And but it was a big part. But even though we started there, it didn't solve any problems right away.
Oh no, it takes a lot of work, a lot of time,
and I want to make that point clear.
Yes,
that just because you wanted to go,
Right.
And you had started going, and then we started going. Then the family went. Then you and I went. Then
there's
we did
no
individual.
guarantee.
Yes, you have to be, and this is the most important part. You have to be a willing participant. And it was probably a conversation that Kim and I had that said, I want to work on this marriage. And then it was a conversation or two I had with a pretty direct counselor who said, what do you want? You know,
Yep.
truly ask yourself what you want, because this is going to be a journey.
Yep.
We ain't going to fix it next session. And you got to want to make some changes. You got to want to make some changes to be a better spouse. And that verbiage has always stuck with me, that I always want to be better. Kim is such a wonderful person that she always makes me want to be better. I always
Ditto.
I love being in her presence because I want to be better for her.
We do that for each other.
Well, I hope so. But that's what, on a daily basis, keeps me going. And I think even when Kim's grumpy or I'm a little aloof, we have found a way to say, all right, Kim, you're a little grumpy today. What's going on?
Yeah, we communicate. And that's a big part of it.
We can communicate. We can get through the things that we couldn't get through 15 years ago.
Right.
And I think we learned a lot along the way. And I would like to talk more about that.
Yes, I would too. And, you know, the question was something you want to master, a skill you want to master. So we've gotten way better.
Way better.
But to say you've mastered the skill of your relationship or being a husband or a wife, you know, that's a lifelong journey. So there's a lot to that. There's a lot we can share. So I think we're going to do some episodes on this topic.
I love this topic because I love us, and I love
us too.
The journey that and the commitment that we made to make this work.
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
I am too. Love you.
We should be proud of it. We'll share some more details so you'll know why we should be so proud.
Yeah, for sure.
But we also know that relationships, everybody can connect to. So everybody's probably got some type of relationship that you're in, have been in, want to be in. So, you know, hopefully this resonates with you. And we're going to talk more about this in the future. So
I love it.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here on the next episode. Bye.